viewers. Now we are going to be trying to take a look at this experimental deck that I'm going to be trying to use, that is going to attempt to win by playing the emerge creatures available from Eldritch Moon. And I think there are several flavors possible to use, but this time I chose to take the blue flavor of the emerge mechanic. And not all the options, these are one of the most cheap versions of the cards, and the idea is to try to steal the opponent's creatures to sacrifice to the emerge of our large Eldrazi ones. We are running therefore a lot of stealing spells and some interesting creatures that can be used as sacrifice. And well, the idea of the deck might work, but it's a bit slow and a lot of risk are involved here. But I think that we can take a lot of opponents by surprise with this kind of deck. This time we are going to be trying red and blue. I think that there are many interesting alternatives to do this kind of archetype. With red we get access to a lot of Act of Treason effects, and there are emerge flavors on green and black too. So there are many possibilities here to try. So with blue we get access to a nice merge creatures, and we could run counter spells and much more control. With green we could have access to ramping effects that are very useful into the emerge mechanics, and also there are plenty of synergistic cards such as enchantments that help you emerge, or fall emissaries, a creature that lets you find your creatures and gives you a token if you emerge, and so on. And with black we have access to very powerful creature removal spells and a lot of powerful effects, and also a bit of draw and mass control. So there are several interesting by options that are viable, I think. But this time we're going to be just experimenting to see how this goes. The mana curve of the current version of the deck is quite high, so we are lacking a lot on the early plays, but we are running some of the controlling lands to make up for it. Now, starting with Jace is quite relevant, it's very good here. I think I'm going to keep just because this is the only 2-drop, I mean the only permanent with 2 mana cost that we have. Another interesting side effect is that the color combination that we are going to be using kind of bluff, and I think that the opponent is not going to see it coming what we are trying to do, provided we get to live until the late game, because for instance the Eldrazi Obligator can steal an opponent creature if we pay 1 generic plus 1 colorless, so not so easy to get there. And I think that we are against some ally deck that runs the core Blade Girl. Now got to get in our hand the Skyline Cascade and follow up another Skyline Cascade, because then we can start tapping these guys for sure. So this turn I think that I'm going to try to attack the opponent with the Obligator and see if the opponent wants to trade. If he is running allies, it's most likely that he is not willing to do this. But let's see if the opponent accepts the trade. A secondary winning condition of the deck is that I tried to use haste creatures to take the opponent without defense. That is not necessarily too easy to do. Now this is a nice target for the Welcome to Default. If we get to steal the Draina's Emissary, we are going to be using the Welcome to Default. We permanently steal this one and we start gaining life and the opponent losing. So here, first of all, I'm going to attack to see what happens, and chances are the opponent is quite reluctant to block with this flyer that gains him life on each turn. Now we can play the Skyline Cascade, and I think it's time to show up the Jace. So if the opponent kills Jace, I'm not going to be worried about that. The only reason to the actual reason to get Jace is that the Planeswalker side can target creatures, and if we target creatures, we might get control of them. So red, black, and white, and I think the opponent is going to be playing perhaps an all life gain deck. So there comes the Draina's Emissary. And we proceed to our next phase, and we even have the Vexing Scuttler, the first merge card that we are not going to be using here. So let's first of all, I'm going to attack and see what happens. A trade here would be very nice, but it's quite unlikely for that thing to happen. So far nothing, and welcome to default. Now Draina is ours, and we drop another Skyline Cascade, and the core Blade Whirl is fixed in place. We continue. Probably not going to activate Jace because, well, we have the telling time here, so no need for us to be drawing. Now this is kind of problematic. Now the humans gain first strike, and this guy has lifelink, but well, taking 2, not biggie because Draina is going to help us regain some back. Let's see. Alright, now what happens next? Now a mountain. So let's try to find ourselves a... Well, this can be used to recover a card from the graveyard, quite nice. Let's first see if we get one of our colorless land and see what we do from there. Slip through space to our hand, and Looming Spires to the top. I think now, let me think. Alright, this one goes here, and now let's play another haste creature and try to hit the opponent for 8. Let's see if he wants to block. Confirm the attack. There we go. So he gains 3. No, he doesn't have lifelink. And let's pause. Let's proceed. The opponent is at 6. Next turn, if he does not remove Drainus, he's going to be at 5. And we recover 1. So opponent brings back his only veteran war leader. So not so many allies in his deck. Let's see what he does now. So now we can flip Jace. I think we can take a pick on our next card. Let's see, another, and this one has flash. That is quite good. So let's throw the Looming Spires. We got Jace with us. Enthralling Victor, just what we wanted. Now if we steal, this is 2, this is 4. Now 1 mana short to do the trick here. But I think that we win the game by playing the Enthralling Victor. Still, we can sacrifice another creature, not ours. So too bad we cannot afford to play all of our cards this turn. So first we are going to steal the Ailey. This is the most dangerous since she has Death Touch. Now Jace, we are going to get rid of some power from the opponent. The Jace gives -2. Now we could sacrifice another creature to gain life, but we are going to be attacking for lethal damage here. I think no, I think it's not lethal, but the opponent is going to lose both 2 creatures. No, this one it has not haste. No, sorry. So the opponent is going to block here. He can block here. Takes 2. He loses 2 of these guys. And we can even activate Ailey, but I think there's no point. Also, we can protect Jace with the Enthralling Victor. So 1 mana short to emerge out of the effect of the Enthralling Victor. That would have been nice. The opponent can actually transform this into a creature and activate the ability. So let's see, opponent attacks, he's going to get this, gets lifelink, and we are going to accept this trade here. Opponent goes to 5 and loses Ailey, we lose the Enthralling Victor, but we are left with a powerful Drain's Emissary and another haste creature, and unless the opponent has something to stop this, it's game over. 6-1, pretty powerful. Alright. Now, there are many interesting cards to consider into adding to a deck like this, such as Flame Shadow Conjuring, but I think that goes better with your green, because you are, it's more likely to get enough mana to play all your expensive enchantments. Also, Thopter Spy Network might be interesting to get here. Let's try once more and see how it does. So we got a bit lucky on our draws there because, as I said, the mana curve of this deck is quite heavy. We have too little 2 drops plays. The only 1 drop, or the only 1 mana card is the Slip Through Space, the instant that grants your creature unblockable and draws you a card. But other than that, all that we are playing is from 2 and higher up, and a lot of 3-cost cards. So that's the quite of a dangerous deck if you are going against very aggressive ones. But if you manage to survive long enough, you begin to steal the opponent creatures and emerge your cards. So we have kind of the finishing power with us. Um, Also, an interesting cheap creature to play on the early game could be the Think in the Eyes, an ice blocker, 0/4, and can transform into a monstrosity and a horror creature that happens to bring back other non-horror creatures to the hand of its owners. Therefore, it might be a wise idea to add Think in the Eyes to this deck, but we are not running that many instants and sorcery. So here, I don't think this is going to be too amusing of a challenge because opponent disconnected. Now, since we have the telling time, I'm going to keep this and just go along. This is a test game, and we are going to call it a day despite whatever happens. But if the opponent gets replaced by AI, I think it loses the chance to mulligan, and it's quite detrimental for the game. Also, notice that the opponent is running more than 60 cards in the deck, and often that's a bad idea. So telling time to fetch something playable. So the Weaver of Lightning I think is a nice addition to our table. And let's get the Iceland. So now that I think that we need something to scramble our library, such as an Evolving Wilds that I'm not currently running, because the telling time is good, but now we know that one of our Act of Treasons is at the bottom of the library and is going to stay there. So nothing to be too excited about. So here haste that we cannot play this turn, so let's just keep this pump up. He might die into something that kills creatures during the attack that white has a lot of access to, but Foundry of the Councils. So this is a strange deck with blue and white, or who knows. Maybe slip through space. If we want to draw a card, we can cast it at any time. So here the opponent is carding the Wheeler Rogue. I think this is a Flyers deck because this spawns two tokens with flying. This guy has flying and white has many flyers. So here let's start pressuring the opponent with our haste guys. Choose a creature. Well, you are not going to block. Haha, what gives? So that effect combined with Willbreaker is kind of very powerful because we get to steal the creature with the Willbreaker. Um, so we are lacking some of the tools to protect our Willbreaker. That's the downside. This is a very weak creature, but forces the opponent to deal with this. So not so biggie. Now we can merge the Gretchen Grief here, but well, we are missing lands. I think playing Jace is better than the other options here. So because we do not know what the opponent is going to throw at us. So let's go with Jace. We are waiting to get some lands. Something that might force us to sacrifice one of our creatures. Whenever we cast an instant or sorcery, we are fighting deals 1 damage. That 1 damage, I think most of the time is not going to kill anything, but it's going to trigger the Willbreaker. Here, for instance. Now we need 2 more lands here to get this guy to our side. Um, Alright, let's slip through space this guy, and we ping this chief of the foundry. Nothing to be to nothing to make us too happy about. Now the duelist and wheelbreaker combo is kind of slow given that we only have 5 lands. So now if we play this, we make this one unable to block. So perhaps the opponent is running Thopters plus some other artifacts. Who knows, maybe he also has red in there. Not a very impressive deck, I have to say. Now let's get in for 7. Now we could left this on defense, but taking 2 is not going to kill us, and if the opponent gets to remove our cards, perhaps that 1 point of damage is significant. Anchor to the Aether on Jace. No, this guy kind of pointless since that one has haste, and when it enters the battlefield makes this one unable to block. So that was the worst possible target for Anchor to the Aether. But anyways, the opponent was at 3, so nothing too impressive here. Let's just see what was our next card out of the chase. A land, doesn't matter. No, that's it. That's the game. But no, 3 lands. One of the most boring situations to a very sour victory. It's just like playing against nothing. Let's see, what time is it? So we have time to one more game. So let's try to find ourselves another challenge that even if we lose here, it should provide us some important feedback to our next iteration, so we know what cards might work better and what cards we should avoid. So let's finish this experiment. Let's hope that we get an interesting opponent this time. So let's see. Come on, join in session. Let me know in the comments if you like this kind of ideas. I haven't seen any other player that I've faced using this tactic of stealing the creature to pay the emerge cost with that, but maybe some of you have come up with that idea, but I would like to see some other players, see what they come up with. I'm going to be trying some other color combinations here. So probably a very efficient one is green plus red. I think that is very promising. Also a possibility is a triple color deck, but that might be too much. But there is the blue and green emerge cards are very good, and if we add the red steals, it's going to be even better. But you have to make that work in a triple color deck, and uh, it's not that easy as it was to be once to get your 3 colors online. Once upon a time we have the Gatecreeper binds that was replaced by an elf that did pretty much the same that the Gatecreeper binds, but I think the Gatecreeper binds was way more powerful because you could find the 2 color lands out of it. The elf well, it was a little bit powerful because it was a creature that had the option to attack, but was only one damage point. But since it happens to be an elf creature that kind of enforces the elf decks, so finally they changed all of that by a crappy one that only you can use it to find your lands, but those end up in top of your library instead of your hand. So it's a very detrimental effect after all. I don't find a valid reason to run that card. So let's see here. Telling time in the opening hand is very good. We have one creature and one Skyline Cascade. So not exactly sure the order of play, what is the most convenient, because Skyline Cascade enters tapped and we are on the play. If we want to drop Frostlink on 3, we have to play the Skyline Cascade without value, but we cannot cast the Telling Time. So I think it's way more efficient to play the Iceland here, even if we do not play the Frostlinks on 3 is not that bad as not playing the Telling Time just now. I hope I'm not wrong, and let's see what happens now. It is a bit better to use Telling Time on the end step of our opponent, because by doing this he doesn't know what we are going to do, so that might affect what he plays. So a human Sigarian priest that is able to tap non-human creatures by paying 1 and tapping. So here I think we are going to get the mountain and leave the Wheelbreaker on top of our library. So let's go ahead with this and Frostlinks this little guy. Not that important to tap this one, but we have a creature instead of having nothing. We could steal that guy later on. We need one more land to have the Wheelbreaker. If let's see, the Blue Knight. Kind of interesting to act of treason this guy and then emerge. Wow, we are getting closer to that. So Vexing Scuttler. So far, nothing too good here. Let's just attack and see how the opponent does not block. Because why could he block here? That would be quite silly. So we get 2 damage here, and we are going to skyline this guy. So since there are a number of counter spells that might be played with these colors that we have untapped, we are going to be bluffing some counter spell when as soon as the opponent tries to play something, just to make him a little bit scared. A land, so he now has 4. I'm going to pause and act as if we had a counterspell. Now these two together, this seems to be a lifelink, a life gain deck, a vampire that can gain lifelink. Now still not enough lands, so we can get in with a lot of damage here. We can slip through space and draw. The draw is quite nice for us because if we get more lands, so let's see, this is 3 and this one costs 7, so that will be 4 mana available that we need to get to merge our creatures. So now we are going to steal one of these guys and deal 4 to the opponent. We are left with a human blocker that cannot be tapped by this Guardian Priest, so the opponent cannot freely attack here. He might have something to kill in running Victor or exile this. Well, exiling this one is not that useful, I think. So, worst case scenario, we can emerge this to bring back Telling Time. So, strange attack. What is this? I think this is a trap. Might be the opponent might be about to cast planar outburst here. I think I'm going to prevent damage here. Doesn't reflection. So I think it was kind of obvious that a trick was coming, but otherwise it also could happen a board wipe. So I think it's not that horrible. So haste. I think I'm going to save the haste. Flash for 8. We get emerge. I think I'm going to attack with the frost links and ambush. What's going on? Scaring Priest. Alright. Now our links is tapped and this guy is kind of nice. I think we can tap his creatures, but I think it's better to ambush and get rid of some. Let's see. Elder Deep Fiend, emerge. We kill this. Now we're going to tap this and finish. So now the opponent cannot tap, or at least he cannot use the Sicarian Priest to tap our Elder Deep Fiend and murder. Well, it was bound to happen. Now, if we could get our lands, the history will change drastically. Mortuary Mire without target. Good thing the opponent has only 2 cards on hand. Now I think it's about time we steal something from the opponent, and it's going to be this guy. And let's see if we find something to play. Come on, well, not entirely bad. But the opponent has 7. Even if he gains life, he gets to put another counter and we die out of the damage on board. So the lack of lands is actually very nasty. So now this gains life for the opponent, but he spent his mana, so he cannot afford to place the counter there. So we are at 1, and even if we get our desired land here, it's not going to save us. So we don't get to see this combo And well, this guy 6. Well, at least we get the emerge combo out of this. We um, let's deal 4 to the opponent. And well, goodbye, Angel. And let's, well, act of prisons we can recover to our hand. It's not going to save us, but at this time nothing will. So the opponent even can tap our blocker, and even if he doesn't, he can kill us. And instead he decided to exile this guy just to show us that he had that, and pretty nice. So very unfortunate turn of events with too little mana, 1 mana short to play the Willbreaker, but Willbreaker would have gotten the Anguish I'm making, so it wouldn't have saved us, but still a bit of frustration out of not being able to play our cards. So the reverse situation of what happens to the AI. So that's it for the moment. So let's quickly review the current cards that are going to be probably um, tweaked a little bit next turn. Telling Time, I think, is very formidable in this deck that is so needed for lands. I think we need more of this to get our lands. Slip through space, nice to draw, but the combo next to the Willbreaker takes too long, so I think we can get rid of some of this and add more telling times. Perhaps we have to evaluate how the deck looks after we do something. 1 copy of Frostlings, um, very good to gain time until you get to your other cards. A nice target for the emerge, and even a Juju can do some damage. So it's a bit overpriced, but gets to tap an opponent creature. The Eldrazi Obligator, uh, too many things in a single card. For 3, you get a 3/1 with haste. That is kind of very important. So 3 lets us discount 3 on our emerged creature. We get to hit with haste for 3, probably, unless the opponent has a blocker, of course. But if the opponent has a blocker and we pay additional 1 colorless plus generic, we get to steal one of the opponent's cards. Hungry Garrison, very powerful on its own, and can turn into the Griffin Township that is even more powerful. But the reason to have this guy here is just because we are going to be running Hungry Battlements, because 1, it gives us colorless, 2, we can target creatures, so combos nicely with the this guy, the Willbreaker. So if we are going to be running the battlements, why not do the Hunger Garrison 2? It's just silly to not to do so. Weaver of Lightning, uh, nice creature to get on defense and also can deal with some small creatures, but we're not having that many instants and sorcery. Perhaps this is not so this one may not have so much of an impact in this deck, but we still need to check it to study further this effect. Act of Treason, one of the core cards of the deck, because this one is a sorcery for 3, and there are some other stealing cards such as the Eldrazi Obligator or the Willbreaker, but all of these kind of are more expensive and harder to activate than the Act of treason. So this is the key of the deck. Whirler Rogue, very efficient for 4 mana. You get a 2/2 plus 2 1/1 flyers, and you can even make one creature unblockable. And it's important here that you get to target another creature. Impetuous Devos, raw power in the form of a 6/1 with trample and haste for 4 mana. That means that we can use this card to emerge one of our creatures, and also when this guy attacks we can target another creature to force into a trade with this guy, and that can get rid of many threats and also can steal something next thanks to the Will Breaker. Enthralling Victor, very conditional stealing creature, so we are running just one, but since it costs 3 plus red, it's nice to have him for the emerge. So still a source of emerge, and of course if we had access to more of the Eldrazi obligators, I think it would be much better to run more copies of this. But since we cannot, we're left with this one, but it is still a little bit better on the stats side, but it doesn't have haste. The Voldaren Duelist, another 4-drop with haste and gets to target something that target cannot block, so goes well with our haste plan and the Willbreaker plan. Welcome to the fold. Another conditional stealing spell, so we gain control of target creature. Since we do not run discard activators, the madness is quite unlikely to happen, so often we are going to be targeting something for 2 or less, and even if the target doesn't fill the criteria, if we had the Willbreaker in play, we still get to steal the creature, not permanently, but as long as Willbreaker is on play. Press into service, support 2 and gain control of creature. More expensive, but maybe the support 2 makes up for it, so we have to experiment with this card to see how well it performs. So, and finally the emerge card. In total we have 8 of these. There are many more that we could add, but if we get stuck with too many of these in the hand, it's going to be hard to cast them, and see there's a fine line between having enough of these and too many of these ones or too few. So having flash is nice for the surprise effect. When we cast this, we get to tap opponent permanents. This guy 3 copies because this lets us fetch the instance of or sorceries from the graveyard, so it gets a lot of synergy with Act of Treason and also this other guy over here, so kind of nice over there. And then the typical red blue mana base, so a few tapped lands in Highland Lake because we need kind of access to a lot of mana, but perhaps it is better to add the Evolving Wilds instead. And these other lands over here can have very useful effects in this deck, because with this we delay the attacks from the other side, and since our curve is quite high, that is very good for us, and this gives us more powerful, especially with our haste creatures, and also any one of these can be used to steal creatures with the Willbreaker. So that is the current version of the deck, and well, some changes are coming, but we need more experience with this. But for the time being, sayonara, and I will be seeing you soon. So stay tuned and don't forget to leave your comments if you like. So until next time.